Everyone has heard the expression, you don't know someone's story unless you walk a mile in their shoes. Can you imagine yourself walking in 8-inch heels late at night in the worst conditions to make some money for the night? Not working means not getting paid. Not getting paid means not working. Not eating. You're ostracized and judged by society because of the type of work that you do. This is a type of stigma that many sex workers face in today's society. Discrimination based on the type of work they do. For most people that work in this type of field, sex work is the only option available for them. Although sex work isn't glamorous in any way, it can produce a source of income as well as a household for their family. But many sex workers deal with harsh realities such as rape, social stigma, low pay, decriminalization, risk of STDs, and including death. While choosing this line of work isn't option number one for everyone, it is for many females and males around the world. I would like to refute the New York's editorial Homeland Security peculiar prosecution of rent boy. Main claim that the federal authorities should not interfere with sex workers' conduct of business and look into bigger issues. Although I agree with the claim that is being given, I only believe that the claim didn't go further enough. Tried by digging deeper into the sex work as an issue instead of a specific company that was affected by it. One claim that can be argued that is lacking sufficient evidence is the New York Times editorial interpretation of what sex workers' environments specify. This is further examined in the main point of my position. Although the main article, Homeland's Peculiar Persecution of Rent Boy, touches briefly as to what sex workers endure, it fails to clarify the actual hardships that happens with sex work. According to an article, transgender sex workers in Ivory Coast face abuse. The writer describes the actual hardships that can entail someone who doesn't have federal government protection. It recounts how some sex workers face low pay, social stigma, and recent attacks from the National Army that led to these women being beaten several times. A sex worker who asked to be identified only as Jennifer says it has been 8 years since she left her job as a teacher to assume a female identity. She says she has to go out on the streets every night regardless of whether she is tired or whether she has recently been beaten by soldiers. People who are only trying to perform in a living shouldn't have to deal with this. The main editorial seems to glamorize that sex workers' environments that are represented in the company compared to the virtual struggles that sex workers deal every day don't have a big corporation that can shield them from the harsh reality that sex workers face. Another main point that is a short evidence is the main point of the editorial. The editorial only takes a position on how the federal government needs to read a business that conducted under the federal authorities for countless of years, its main issue. According to an article on AVERT, a study was done in 2010 by UNAIDS Global Report that stated that although sex workers do use protection such as condoms and other types of preventive materials, only a third of 86 countries that were surveyed claimed that 90% of these sex workers used a condom with their last client. In some cases, sex workers have no access to condoms or are not aware of their importance. In other cases, sex workers are simply powerless to negotiate safer sex. Clients may refuse to pay for sex if they have to use a condom and use intimidation or violence to force unprotected sex. They may also offer more money for unprotected sex as a proposal that can be hard to refuse. Mostly sex workers in underdeveloped poor countries don't have access to contraceptives to avoid sexual diseases. Some sex workers that are in developed countries sometimes turn away from these contraceptives because of some of their clients prefer their services provided without a condom. For some sex workers, turning down this offer isn't a valid choice for them. They're intimidated by sex and conform just to make a living for themselves or any children that they may have. The editorial once again doesn't give too much of what really affects a sex worker when they don't have federal government protection. The editorial only focuses mainly on how the federal government wrongly rated rent boy affects the company. One last final thing that needs to be examined is the rape of sex workers. This is the dark side of this type of work. This is something that doesn't get reported and goes ignored. According to an article on rapeis.org, it is reported that prostitution for a girl can start as early as the age of 12. These young girls are forced by pimps or strong influence to perform sexual acts they see on porn. The sad, ugly truth about this is that this is rape. About 80% of women in prostitution has been the victim of rape. It is hard to talk about this because the experience of prostitution is just rape. Prostitutes are raped on the average at 8 to 10 times per year. The worst part of this is that the type of rape will never get reported, leaving these young girls with mental and physical abuse that happened to them at a young age. Going back to the New York editorial, it has failed even more by not stating any of these harsh realities that has faced sex workers, especially at such a young age. Once again, this editorial is only convinced for the big man upstairs instead of the 99% that are at the core of this real issue. In conclusion, the real problem is faced to these escorts and no longer have a safe work environment to work a job that provided them with a sense of security, income, and protection. With any type of hope in this world, I hope for decriminalization of sex workers so they too can be treated as equals, but with the continuing judgment from society, that hope is only a dream beating in the past.
I stopped it.